Hello YouTube, this is Sonic2KK here, and welcome back to another Love2d tutorial for Love 0.9.0. In this tutorial, we're going to actually start writing a simple game. It's about time, I think. I wanted to get around to this sooner, but I just never really got a chance because I was busy with a lot of schoolwork, and hopefully all that work's paid off, but I won't know yet until August, I think. Anyway, on with the tutorial. I'm not sure what sort of game we're going to write yet. I have an idea of sort of a game where you're a player and you walk around and you shoot enemies, because it's different from the game I did in the last series, and it also helps teach the basic principles of game development for player movement, for bullets, for enemy collision and stuff. I just think there'll be a lot in it that people can learn, but having said that, I'm not going to set that in stone just yet. There's a few things. I'm going to sort of write the game, all the components, and then maybe sort of put that together, or if I have another idea that's slightly different, I'll do that. But if you have any requests for a game you'd like to see, or any features in a game that you'd like me to cover, just suggest them in the comments, and I'll be happy to get around to them. Anyway, so let's start with basic love.load. Function love.update. I can't type today. DT. And wow, I really can't type. Function love.draw. And function love.quit. Wow. Love.event.quit. There we go. This is all we're going to need for now. So, we build this, we get nothing, but it says untitled, and I don't like how it says untitled. So we're going to make a love.conf file. Conf.love. Function love.conf t and t.window.width equals, we'll just stick with 800 by 600. Okay, so I believe I've covered this before, but t.window.width and height, just to refresh your memory, is setting the window width and height. T.title obviously sets the title of the window, and t.resizable is a flag or a parameter that basically tells Love that we can resize our game. Otherwise, the window will be resizable. Actually, no, it's not. It's t. I always get this messed up. Yeah, t.window.resizable, and basically now we can resize the game window. Okay. Yeah. So just to make sure things are working, love.graphics.print hello world at love graphics get width f2 graphics height f2, and that's not going to be completely centered, but I don't care. And as you can see, it works. Great. Now we can start writing a game. So the first thing I think we're going to write in our game is going to be the player system. So let's do this. We'll create a new folder called code. This is how I set up my games. Any code that isn't main.lua or conf.lua or anything that we sort of need in the root of the project, I put in a folder called code, and then I separated it out. So here it's going to be entities. And in case you don't know, because I didn't know whenever I started, an entity is basically just any object in your game world. So that would be a box, that would be a ring, that would be anything basically. A bottle, a glass, a plate, a speaker, a TV, whatever. So that's what an entity is. And there's many different ways to write an entity system, or a basic sort of object system, for lack of a better term. And what we're going to do for this system, because this is the way I do it, I'm going to say player equals a table, an empty table. And this table, this player table, is going to hold the value, or going to hold all the tables of player, because a player that we create is going to be a table. with various values, x, y, width, height, rotation, name, ID, whatever, gold coins, knighted, programmer, whatever. All the values are going to be in a table, and those tables need to be stored somewhere, and we're going to store them in this player variable. Function player.new, and this is basically just putting a function inside of this player table. And this means that we can say player.new in code, and then these are the parameters: width, height, name, what else do we want? ID. That's gonna be it for now. And then we're going to say local t x, y equals y, width equals width, height equals height, name equals name, ID equals ID, plus 1. Table. I will explain this in a second. Player t, return t. Okay, so here, just to recap, this is a global player table that we can access from main.lua, conf.lua, and it has a function now called player.new. And whenever we call this, we need to give it certain values so that we know how to display our player, update our player, and so on. So an x value, a y value. Oh, we should also give it speed. I never even thought about that. Wow. Speed equals speed. Width equals width, height equals height. So this is basically the width and the height to draw it at. We're not going to add an image to the player for right now, because that's going to be something that we do near the end. Basically because I'm too lazy to try and come up with a player design for now. If any of you design a player and would like to send it in, feel free. I'll give you credit, but you know, probably won't do that, and you don't have to. But just a suggestion if you want to help with the series and speed it up a bit. So yeah, this is a local table, and this means after this function runs, this table is going to be deleted. But it's a local table called t, and it has all the values that our player is going to have whenever we call this. So local t, and we're basically giving t all the values that we've passed in here. So the new player's x is going to be equal to the x value we pass in, y value is going to be equal to y value, speed is going to be equal to that value. Let me just rewrite this, because yeah, it doesn't have to be in this order. I'm just putting it in there because x equals x, y equals y, speed equals speed, width equals width, blah 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 blah. We're just adding the values in as the same value that we pass into the function. Table.insert is the Lua standard way of adding a table into a table, or a value into a table. If we wanted, we could pass in all the values individually in a table. For example, we could do this and paste the values in manually if we wanted. So we could comment this out. Actually, would want to paste this back in and enter all these values. We could do this, but as you can see, it's a bit untidy and it doesn't allow for like dynamic value changing and stuff, where if we wanted to add something to the x-axis later on, depending on values here, we wouldn't really be able to do that. So this allows us to directly modify a table from a variable rather than pasting it in this way. So it's up to yourself. If you don't really want to do that and you don't need to change these values at all, if you think, right, we don't need to change this at all, then you're more than welcome to just paste this table in here, as I just showed, as I had just shown. I can't speak today either, as well as type. But you know, I'm just going to be doing this. The next thing we need to do is say function player.update dt function player.draw. Wow, I apologize. And what we need to do here is player.update and player.draw, and whatever other functions we add in are going to update all the players that we create. So how do we access all the players that we've created? Instead of just saying like player 1 dot whatever, player 2 2 dot blah, player 3, and then having to check if all these players exist, we can use a function built into LÖVE called iPairs. For IV and iPairs, players do end. For IV and iPairs, players do end. You might have seen me do this in my speed programming video where I wrote a simple like asteroid shooting game, where you have to loop through all the entities all in the table. So I had to loop through all the rocks, I had to loop through all the players because I made a player system even though there's only one player. And the reason I'm doing this is so it'll allow for multiple players. It'll just make the system more dynamic later on. Yeah, so what this is going to do is this is going to go through and get all the players in player table, and these are going to be represented by V. iPairs took me a very long time to get my head around, but basically for IV and iPairs, I stands for index, so if we're on the first player, I will be 1. If we're on the second player, I will be 2. If we're on the third player, I will be 3, and so on. V represents the current value, so V basically represents this. This is V. We don't really want to do much updating for now. What we want to do is say love.graphics rectangle fill v.x, v.y, v.width, v.height. And we might want to add some rotation in later, but for now we're not going to do that. So we'll be building on this, no errors, but that's only because we have not implemented our player yet. We've just made the player file. We haven't actually said that hey, we want to put our player.LÖVE file into this so that you can access all the functions that we've just created, and so that we haven't wasted our time. So to do that, we need to say require code.assets.player, I think it was in. Oh no, entities. It was in entities. Or was it? Let me check. It's in programming, Love2d, tutorials, code, entities. There we go. And player. We don't have to put in player.LÖVE. This is more of a LÖVE thing, same with iPairs, but I'm just going to go over it to refresh your memory because it was some of the things I found difficult, and so I don't want you to be struggling. So code entities player. The reason we're using dots instead of slashes is because this will prevent errors later on. So code.entities player will basically say, okay, we want to require a file, which means we want to, if you work with other languages, it's the same as import. For Java, it's like importing a package name. You could use slashes, but I think they cause problems on Windows for building exes and stuff. So you better just use dots. Yeah. So this will basically say, right, we have a file in the code folder. Dot, of course, represents a slash in the entities folder, and then look for a file called player. It will either look for a directory called player if there's like dot, right? But it sort of knows that we're looking for a file if it's the last thing in there, and if I can't find it, we'll get an error. And it was a recent change in Love080, I think, or was it 027? 072 rather. I'm not sure. I think it was 080 where they changed it, so you don't have to put in .LÖVE afterwards, because now if you put in .LÖVE, it will look for a file in a player folder called LÖVE.LÖVE, and that's a bit silly. So yeah, that's how basically we import it. We build and run this, no errors. But now our player is in this. Oh, we forgot to do. Oh no, we did return t, and this basically returns it at the end of the function so that we can say local player equals player.new. What were our arguments? X, Y, width, height, X, Y, speed, width, height, name, ID. 10, 50, 50. Or no, speed. 300. That'll be used for updating later. 50, 50. I'm really bad at remembering arguments. Game in the great. Why break from tradition? And ID will just be left blank. And the reason I have said ID was ID or player hash player plus 1 is because if this is nil, if ID is nil, this will be ran, and this basically says or, so set the value of ID equal to ID in our table, or if it's nil, then get the length of the player table and add 1 to it, because right now player table is 0 and I want all my IDs to be above 1. And this automatically gets incremented, so instead of me having to say like local player len plus 1 equals player len plus 1, and it sort of saves us some hassle later on. It's more efficient to do it this way. And you don't have to do it if you want to. If you want to give like a string naming system, which we might do for our GUI system later on, which we're going to write ourselves in this series. Happy days. There you go. So if we build on this, what value player? Oh, because we can't say this because the player table here. That's why what I normally do. Let's do some find and replace. Player. Replace it with player, and we'll do it in player. Replace 8 occurrences. There we go. Oh, why are we saying players here? We should be saying player. Maybe we should just say players as well. And player replace with player. You could do this all manually yourself. This is just a simple find and replace system found in Sublime Text, which you can access by saying either Shift Command R or Shift Control R, whatever, it's up to you. On Windows and Linux it's Shift Control R. On OS 10 it's Shift Command R, I think. Yeah, it is. So yeah, let's replace it. Replace set occurrences. Okay, and we'll say here players, and there we go, no errors, and our game has ran. So now all we have to do is say players. Oh wait, what? Players, and then here just players, or no, yes it is, I think. Players dot update dt players dot draw. And basically the reason we're doing this is so it'll allow us to get our current player's ID. So if this is player 1 and it's player 2, we can get player 1's ID and player 2's ID pretty quick. On ID, like values. Well, you could get the ID, or you could get the XY, width, height, speed, and a name, whatever. So if we go and run this, you can see a white rectangle is drawing here. We could also pass in like a color table where you can pass in the RGBA values if we really wanted to set the color, and then all we have to do here is just say love.graphics.set color to CT for color table .r whatever. You get the idea, but we're not going to do that. So I think before we finish this tutorial, we'll add in some player movement. See, if love.keyboard.is down, or love.keyboard.is down. I like doing this, so it allows us to use either the arrow keys, else if do it move our player. D for the other arrow, for the WASD keys, for the other control for moving right, is down, right. And I don't know if we'll add up and down movement. I don't think we need to, because our game's going to sort of be like a side scroller, but we can add that in later if we really want. I'll just make a note to myself here, to to do possible up down movement. Anyway, so I want to say v dot x equals v dot x, take away v dot speed times dt. You should know a basic if statement, and you should know what these do because I have a tutorial in the entire Love2d keyboard module. But this basically says, right, the current value of v dot x, set it equal to, because in LÖVE there's no minus equal operator, or plus equal, or modulus operator, divide equal operator, or times equal operator. But I think it might be in LÖVE, but it didn't work last time I tried. And I haven't tried for a long time. It might work in 0, 10, 0, or maybe I'm mistaken. Anyway, that's not what the point is. So v dot x equals v dot x equals v dot speed times dt. I believe I've covered this before, but just in case, set v dot x equals the current value of v dot x, take away v dot speed. So whatever our current object is, because if one player has an x value of 100 and the other of 200, then we don't want to basically set both of their value. Well, we will be setting both of their values, but you don't want to set the wrong one's value. So this basically allows very precise getting of objects and of their values, or tables rather. So v dot x equals v dot x, take away v dot speed times dt. It'll make it move left, since in game development the x-axis is or no, it's the y-axis, but anyway, to move left you want to take away from the x value. If you want to move right, you add to the x value, and times dt basically makes sure it runs at the same speed in all computers. So here, if we say plus, no code to run, it's because I'm running the wrong file. There we go. And then I can use the arrow keys. You can't see, but I'm using the arrow key, the right arrow key, left arrow key. And if you don't believe me, you can always write this game for yourself. And why is it lagging a bit? Just seems like a bit of lag. That could be just be because I'm recording. I'm not sure. So yeah, let's just adjust this to be love.graphics with 2, take away 50 divided by 2. That's just the player width, and we should probably set that equal to variable, but I'm too lazy. Love.graphics get height. In fact, you know what? Let's just set that equal to 500. There we go. That is our player done. That was easy, wasn't it? That wasn't too hard. At least I don't think it was too hard. Just 27 lines in a player file, and 19 lines in this file, and then obviously this is just a configuration file. So yeah, that's the end of this tutorial. If you have any questions about it, feel free to leave a comment. Subscribe if you want to see more of these videos, and please leave a like if this video helped you out. So yeah, that's it for this tutorial. My name is LÖVE2d, and I will see you in the next tutorial.